Yo, what up, everybody? Little bit different show tonight. I'm hosting. I don't ever do it, but hi
You
everybody.
got the intro. That's the important part.
Yeah,
We got
my
it.
name's Zach, and this is my co-host Trev,
What's up?
and we're here to just discuss Colts ball with you guys tonight, and see y'all's thoughts and opinions. Sorry,
Yeah,
see
the
y'all's thoughts and opinions
tragedy,
and everything. Yeah, that is
the tragedy that is the Indianapolis Colts. That is insufferable to watch every week.
No.
Yeah, for our regular viewers, we have a couple guys that just had stuff going on. Like DeMarco should be on the way, Damon's on the way. So hopefully our other co-hosts can join us in a little bit. What's up, Chad? I see you're already in the comments. That's what we like to see, man. But yeah, getting right into it. The Colts just got obliterated last week, just bent over by a 2-win team. A team that was trying to lose football games, a team that had not won at their home field all season, a team that we had more wins in MetLife Stadium than they had, and they put 45 on us with a third-string quarterback. So, Zach, how's that make you feel about the beanie on your head, man?
I'm a fan of the organization, not necessarily the players. At this point, I mean, the effort on the field. I mean, you heard it. McAfee, dudes like here locally, Marlon Jackson. Guys got pissed off. Even D-Butt was saying some stuff. Yeah. Just in the fact that he's not happy with the effort that the Colts have put forward. So
what's crazy too? Like watching the game live, I pointed out when we were watching. Jonathan Vilma was on the broadcast commentary, and even he during the game was saying, "I'm just shocked at the Colts' lack of sense of urgency here, the lack of physicality, the lack of like just being present in the moment." And if you can see it just watching the game, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing on the field, man? It made no sense. There was no, as he said, no physicality, no sense of, hey, if we win this, we're still in the hunt. It was just like, we'll make a play, we'll see what happens, whatever, and just kind of dilly-dallied our way through the game. And before you know it, you look up at the scoreboard, and Drew Lock has 45 points on you.
Has the best game of his career. Has the best game of his career.
But by the way, someone ran the statistics. It was like somewhere in like the sixth best of pure efficient QB stat, whatever. It was like the sixth best since 1999. Like that was an all-time performance from him that we allowed. Just because we didn't want it.
He had a perfect passer rating, didn't he? Until like the fourth quarter?
Damn near, yeah.
Bro.
A career game.
I'll be honest.
Live on in YouTube highlights forever, dude.
After halftime, I turned it off because the way like Zaire was playing. Because, I single Zaire out immediately. Just
this is the game he wanted.
His lack of hustle.
Yeah.
Like.
You know who else worried me that had a complete Julian Blackmon, man. I mean, he gave up both those big scores. He just quit or had horrible angles on tackling. It's just both. It just
the Colts are the worst open field tackling team in the NFL.
It's disgusting, dude.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Bro, like statistics in the open field, Indianapolis is basically Swiss cheese. If you can get if you can get your defender one-on-one and they got a Colts jersey on, blue or white, you're essentially going to, to watch.
You're going to be on the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Dude. It's cool. Congratulations on your contract extension. You just earned it. Like, you're going to run them over. You're going to break their ankles. Like it just seemingly is not difficult at all to just run all over this Colts defense, which, I mean, fair is fair. We've never, as a franchise, been known for an amazing defense. I mean, you had the Mathis and Freeney years that were obviously really good. You had we've had good defenders. I'm not saying we haven't, but like historically, the offense is usually the strength of this team.
Right.
But even so, like we're not even meeting the average, or even like 20th in the league. Like we're nowhere near it, dude. We are dog shit on defense. It's traffic cones out there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this last week was basically like what the Colts have essentially been the past 2.5 years. I mean, you could really say since they traded Carson Wentz, you could legitimately say the Colts have been nothing but dysfunction with no vision and no sense of direction. and it's just, hey, we're here to collect a game check, and we're all well media trained. Oh, AR's not well media trained. Well, he's going to get benched, and we'll blame it on a tap out. Like, come on, dog.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but I like what you said there specifically about the whole Wentz moment because, granted, like we said 1,000 times, we've seen how Wentz's career played out. It was probably for the better. He's not a Colt, but that notwithstanding, right? The culture of the team changed when you look at that one game and you say this guy is responsible for all of our failures because of this game. It was a terrible game. Don't get me wrong; it's an embarrassment, but he's got to go. And then from that point on, it just kind of like sucked the life out of the team because then they bring in Matt Ryan and, this is the guy. This is our guy. Dog shit. Frank Reich is our guy. Dog shit. But Jeff Saturday is our guy. Dog shit. Like
it was copy and paste, and a lot of the Wentz season, a lot of our anger and ambiguity was centered around play calling.
Yeah.
So our anger half the season was never with Carson Wentz. In fact, I can remember us personally, after that season was over with, I don't think any of us were overly
it was
out
run it back,
on Wentz. You know what I mean?
No.
It was, hey, I really don't think, I could be wrong, but I really don't feel like any of us were like, God, get this guy out of here. It was, hey, we got to structure this team a little bit better, and our play calling needs to be better down the stretch. Because
it was
Frank's Mexico game. Oh my God! I mean,
it was Frank's play calling, and yet again our defense. I remember us being vividly pissed at Kenny Moore because he couldn't cover a tight end.
Oh, that was bad. That was bad.
And again, I'm not sitting here like banging the table saying, "Oh, Wentz would have saved this franchise." That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you had to pinpoint a moment where the culture went wrong because we were such a big locker room team, and they would constantly talk about guys' character, bringing them in. If you had to pinpoint a certain spot where that all went out the window, it would have been that moment when Irsay said, "Get the fuck out of town. You're not a Colt anymore." And then from that point on, it's like the message just started falling on deaf ears, and that's why Wright got fired. That's why Ryan was horrible. That's why like the accountability of the team just kind of went away after that, and it's never really recovered since. And you've had onesies and twosies try to recover. I believe guys like Buckner, even like Ryan Kelly earlier this season, who say what you will about it, but he was talking about, the standard and whatnot. I think guys have tried, but that message falls on deaf ears. And that's why I've reached the point where it is, as my subtitle here says, fire everyone. Get started all over.
With you. That's where I think some people don't agree with me, but I make the statement is that standard has to be instilled by a coach. That is a leadership, a leadership thing. You know what I mean? And me and Zach have definitely touched on this, I remember in the past, but the only culture that works in the NFL is a winning culture. There's no locker room. What's this? We're trying to build a culture, but we're 500 every year or a game below 500. That's not it. There's no culture. No. Culture is winning. Culture is winning in sports. And you're seeing in other sports teams and other in outside of football. If you're not winning, your locker room falls to shambles. Yeah, because what ends up happening is, like you just talked about, is it turns to we're going to stick the finger and point the blame at one player. It was Matt Ryan's fault. It was Carson Wentz's fault. It was Anthony Richardson's fault. But that's where my reservations with Shane come from. And I do respect him for always saying it starts with me, but where does it start?
Yeah. It's the same conversation we had with Bright, the same conversation we had with fucking Pagano, where these one-liners and just you go to the press conference and you already know what he's going to say.
I'll beg a difference with you with Pagano because I truly believe
wood. It was chopping wood.
I feel you, but Pagano didn't go awry until after Grigson got there.
No.
I feel like Pagano could have been more successful if you gave him a GM that was actually wanting to facilitate him and not believe that he was the star.
Yeah,
Grigson was an egotistical maniac, and when before Grigson, for whatever reason, got rid of Chuck. I don't know who was Polian there and then retired, and they brought Grigson in and kept Pagano.
Yeah,
was that the whole deal? I don't remember. I just know when he had cancer, the team loved him.
Oh, great dude! I wasn't taking a shot at it.
They came. No, I didn't think you were. They came back and they were winning. And then once Grigson was all like, "Yo, hey, I traded for."
Well, and you also forget who
Richardson.
You also forget who leaves that offseason, and that was a very key piece as to why I think we struggled. We lost Bruce Arians. that offseason. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's
BA went to be a coach. Yeah,
and BA never lost a game as a head coach with us. Remember that?
But yeah, I would bring up Pagano because he had that chopping wood one-liner, and then Reich would have 1% better or go 1-0 this week. And I remember even back then, I think it was Quentin Nelson or one of the players came out and said, all right, but at some point we have to actually go 1-0. We have to actually win. Otherwise, we're just talking about it. And now it's the same thing with it starts with me. I'm glad you recognize that because it does start with you. But at what point is that going to translate to the field? Because it hasn't. And Zach and I were talking about this a little bit as we were waiting to start the show. Is like Steichen is not on my hit list of people I want fired. At the top of that list is Ballard and Gus Bradley. And I think the general consensus is probably around that. But honestly, like at this point, how do you look at the results? And if Steichen was on that list, was on that chopping block and got fired, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
Like, all right, sorry, man. You had your shot and you did nothing with it. Like, I don't necessarily want that to happen. I think there's a way that we can spin this around and still have Steichen at the helm. I think he has more to offer. But we're 2 years in, and like you got 9-8 and probably 9-8 again, or maybe even 8-9. But there's just
it's a losing season this year, so it's already 9 losses.
Right,
like it could be 10
losses,
losses,
my bad.
Or it could be 8-9, and he's essentially a 500 ball coach.
Yeah,
what I think too is they ask Shane all the time, what are your conversations like with Irsay? I actually think that Irsay may confide in Shane. And I think that he is actually going to put the ear to Shane and hear out what's the problem with this team, because he's now had 8 going on 9 seasons with Chris Ballard to Noah Bell. This is Gus Bradley's 4th season, correct? Is DC going on 5th next year? Next year be 5. So I think that he's actually going to confide with Jim, and I think that they're going to try to establish some sort of future. But I mean, this team's a mess. I mean, I hate to say it, and I hate I know where
to begin.
We're homers, but where do you begin? I mean, and I know we're going to get into this, and of course we're going to get into to game talk. But I'm thinking quarterback. Where do you start?
That you perfect segue, Damon, because that's what I have written down here. I wanted to get your guys' opening thoughts about the Colts situation and what you want to do, and then in case you guys don't know and live under a rock, or you follow another team, whatever it is, and you just want some off-season drama in your life, Indianapolis can provide you that off-season drama. We've been nothing but that for the past 3 or 4 years. So I guess earlier this week, I think Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was, that AR talked to the media. He talked about now he has a chronic disc issue in his back. So now knowing that, do you automatically move off of AR? Do you have a contingency plan but still keep him around? Or do you just cut bait and say, hey, bro, once your contract runs out, you're gone. Like, practice squad for life. What's y'all's thoughts and opinions?
I would go with, like, as you said, my bad. Yeah, I would go with, like, the contingency plan. I think after everything that's transpired and after multiple players have come out, like, publicly supporting AR, if you're going to keep anyone, then you have to run it back with AR, because otherwise you just further lose the locker room. And also, like, you drafted the guy 4th overall. He's shown moments. He hasn't shown moments. Like, you can't cut him at this point, right? If you're going to trade him, I mean, that also doesn't seem like the best decision. To me, you do run it back, but you have a contingency plan, whether that's, signing a mid-level type guy in free agency, or fucking drafting someone in the mid rounds, which I'm not against either. I think that'd probably be the way to go, because you can't just go in and have we can't go in with AR and then Ellinger is just there. And like, when AR goes down, if this back issue becomes a thing, we're like, all right, Sam, you got to save us. You're back in Texas. No, he's not, dude. Like, we've seen who he is on the NFL level. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You have to have some sort of contingency plan, but you just hope that the disc. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
Here's my next question, because to me, this is the perfect time to move off a guy.
So that's where I'm going. If you want me to answer, do you want me to answer?
Yeah, Damon. Yeah,
I'm off. I hate to say this, and I've thought long about it, and I was Team AR until probably the last 6 weeks. I loved the game that he came back. He bounced back after the benching, but from a locker room standpoint, I don't think letting him go causes any disarray, because you've already caused it by benching him.
Yes,
and then his lack of leadership. When you're team captains, by the way, he's a team captain. He's a team captain. He's a team captain. When your other team captains come up to you and have to teach you how to be a professional, I'm sorry. I'm just going to go off on whim and say this. When have you ever seen any other top draft pick quarterback have an issue with professionalism?
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
And that's not a good spot to be in.
He's
when I'm telling you, there's a lot more under the rug that will not be pulled out. But you're talking about there's people being late to meetings, not showing up to treatment. We can't say that's AR. We can't say it's any player. But I'm saying that's the issues that you have in your locker room.
Yeah.
Moving on from him right now is not the worst case. I want to see him pan out. I do. But with where you're at, you're about to get a new GM, new DC, team has to go in a different direction. Are you in the situation to let this keep happening? Because now you're going to be year 3 into something. So there's just so many intricacies that arise by keeping him going that could cause more issues down the road. And the problem is he needs reps. Yeah. He needs more time. Yeah. And that's with anywhere he goes. So it's like it's kind of a double-edged sword, if you ask me. But I would agree with Zach here. I think if you're going to move on, you do it now.
It's a sound argument. The only reason that I lean more towards just running it back in that specific position is I really feel like this QB class is not strong in the draft. I mean, you have Shedeur Sanders, you have Cam Ward, and they're both legit NFL prospects, but they're both gone before our pick, right? So it's like and you're not taking a guy that early anyway. So you're looking at someone like, I don't know, maybe McCord, maybe I mean, I don't even know. Like there's Riley Leonard. I don't know.
Okay.
You got Jackson Dart. You got quarterback.
Okay, maybe, but they might be going to. I don't know.
Gabriel. I don't know.
It's a weak class, anyways. So that's why I'm like, if I can get someone in the 4th, 5th round, sure, but I'm not rushing to replace him this year.
Hear me out. This is the only reason why I brought this up is because this is literally, we've all talked about it. Hey, new GM's going to probably come in and Irsay is going to give him, the whole, put Bean in. Irsay is probably going to give him the whole thing. Yo, this is your team. The only thing that I ask is that you keep Shane. So like if the roster stinks and the new GM don't like it, changes are coming. Like Buckner said it best. It would not shock me to see him move off of people we thought, that were legit. So like, if he's a new GM, per example, I have a guy who's AR I hate using the word injury prone, but AR is inconsistently healthy. He's not available. So like, this is that time where based on his production, and I'm still on Team AR. If he's here, I hope he's successful. I believe he can be successful, but he's incredibly raw. But the best ability is availability. And he's got an ailment now in a back that I don't know if the Colts were aware of it. And if they were, then why is Ballard drafting guys off potential and traits and not drafting guys off availability and proven track record?
It's got to be a balance, I think. Yeah.
Right. 100%. I mean, no one will argue with you. What AR did at the combine, that's superhuman stuff. What AR did versus the Jets this year, that's superhuman stuff. But his inability to stay healthy, that's all you got to tell him. AR, we're moving off of you because the new GM A don't want you, and B, you can't stay healthy. We're gonna bring a vet in to come in to compete for the job. We're going to apply pressure, because I do agree this year there ain't a damn quarterback in this draft class that I want under center. I'd rather have AR 10 out of 10 times than anybody in this draft class. Like
or one that moves the needle for us, for that matter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
like,
and that's why, But that's what I was saying. If it is a time to move on, now is the time. But if you're going to hold on, that's completely understandable. But don't be shocked if a new GM comes in and signs Justin Fields or Russell Wilson to a 1-year contract. That's what I'm saying.
And this is the thing, too, that you often see with new GMs is anytime a GM takes over a job, they want their guys in there. Like, they'll keep bits and pieces. They'll keep key guys, whatever. I don't know the last time a GM's taken over a team and just completely like, hey, anyone not on a rookie deal is gone. Like
Ballard.
Yeah.
Remember
Ballard. Even he kept like Reggie Wayne and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, onesies and twosies.
He was the only one.
Yeah,
Dude, he literally got rid of everybody.
Well,
him and Ty were it.
Yeah.
The cupboard, him, Ty, and Luck were in. I think Costanzo's were the only dudes he kept.
That's what I mean. There's
on
like
the offensive line.
So
it was like four guys.
Yeah, I suspect a new GM coming in would do the same. Like you're probably not going to fire sale, get rid of the guys like Quentin Nelson or whoever, right? And I'd probably be a mistake to do so anyways. But it is typical with new GMs coming in. They're going to want their own coach in there. They're going to want their own quarterback in there. And that's why I'm not surprised about anything at this point, because I think it's a must that you get a new GM. And if we don't, then what are we doing? But anything's up for grabs now.
I am in that 1%. I do believe Shane could be a GM in this league. I think his mind is doable. The problem is he's overwhelmed with play calling. There ain't no way he's going to be able to play call, be a head coach, and a GM. So after seeing that he isn't who we thought he was play calling, because for me, that's something I have a big issue with. I'm sick and tired of the head coach also being the play caller, because unless you're Sean McVay or you're Andy Reid and either have a system that is bend, don't break, like McVay's system, I truly believe, sorry if this offends anybody, I truly believe McVay's system is foolproof. Like, you could put anybody in there. Same thing with Shanahan.
I want to bring that up next, because Kyle Shanahan might get fired.
Hey,
very strong. No, dude. They have been calling for it for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
People say that they're crazy, and I said they are crazy. But Tony Dungy got fired at 14-2 and lost the NFC Championship.
You're not wrong.
So I mean, it's
the expectations, I guess.
And they have had. If that team, in a sense, not to get off topic here, has had the worst injury bug season in any NFL team in NFL history ever.
after like Super Bowl contention. If anyone deserves a break, it'd probably be that guy.
The 49ers. But I was going to bring up Shanahan because I think about a guy like that, and I'm like,
I think the Colts need a legit play caller, an OC who calls plays, and they just let Shane be the head coach and, make the executive decisions and kind of be the CEO and run it as the CEO should.
See, this is where I have problems with Shane, though, because we were sold on him being this genius play caller, genius offensive mind. And if he's not that, then why do we have any reason to trust in his ability to be a CEO, to trust in his ability to make I understand what you're saying, but it's like, we were told this guy was a genius offensive coordinator.
And where's Jim Bob's a good play caller? We don't know.
So what's going on in there to where the offense is still obviously we don't have all the players that we'd like, and there's quarterback issues. I understand all that, but as you said just a moment ago, McVay's can work with anyone, right? KOC in Minnesota can work with anyone. Great coach. And Shane is supposed to be off of that same branch, should be able to throw in damn near anyone.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, what you're seeing, and this is what I believe, is Shane comes from a spread background, the same background that Frank came from.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys that have success all come from that West Coast copy and paste cookie cutter offense.
But it works.
Well, that's the trend in the league right now, and it works. And I'm the type of person, if you're not in with the trends, if you're not zigging and zagging when everyone's zigging and zagging, unless you have a legit one-of-one quarterback, i.e. Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, that's why they can do all the weird cool stuff they can do. That's why, they name plays Corn Dog and Wasp and all that other stuff because they have the one guy, the one dude in the league who can do that. But I truly feel like if you don't have a dog at quarterback, then you need to get in a system that makes everyone else better and is as friendly as hell to whatever quarterback you put in that. Because I believe you could make AR work if you put him under center and you put him in the pistol and you put him in the gun and you mixed it all together. What you really have with AR is the Colts offense is 95% shotgun.
Yep.
I mean, the way I see it is you want to make JT better, put him in the dot back. Have him do what he did. Have him do what he did at Wisconsin. Run downhill, man.
You talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
How many shotgun snaps do you think Jonathan Taylor took at Wisconsin? Probably 10.
None. And now it's all he does.
Our line is built. And our line is built to be single back.
Downhill, downhill run game, and that's where I truly feel like Shane gets in his head because we'll have success with the pistol and running downhill and running this formation and that formation and doing all that stuff that attacks the edge of the defense, that, you know, forces Reed defenders to react the wrong way, and then we'll get away from it in the second half.
But
that's why
the glaring issue with that, Zach, is from a high school standpoint, college standpoint, NFL standpoint, these quarterbacks that are coming in are not being taught to play under center.
No,
that's not. In my opinion, if you're going to take a guy who's not done under, who isn't comfortable with getting under center, you start a vet who is. You go find a guy who is.
Yeah.
And until that guy is ready, that's the problem with the league right now, is no one wants to develop a quarterback. You know, and because
then you want to throw him in a system he's not ready for.
That's deemed a luxury. Well, hey, Mahomes sat a whole year and then came back and won an MVP when no one had tape on him, and he's been incredible ever since. You know, like Purdy had Garoppolo, who he was okay, but I mean, Purdy's been better.
Average, yeah.
Like, you know, these guys, if you can find a vet who is capable, and you draft a guy and you say, bro, I need you to sit a whole year, unless you're Manning or one of those dudes who's a one of one, a Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes sat a whole year, but unless you're one of those Joe Burrows, those special talents that can do that, there's no need to rush these guys. NFL teams are screwing themselves because they will develop every other position. But yeah, Lamar sat almost a whole year, and then Flacco got cut. So you can't tell me it doesn't work. I mean, and I know people don't like it because, you know, the argument is, well, if I take you in the first round, I need my return on investment immediately. Well,
Which makes sense, but it's not realistic.
Right. If I'm taking you in the first round, then you're a finished product, essentially. Why are you taking a risk in the first round at all? And if you're taking a guy like AR in the first round, specifically off traits alone, then who's the vet who's starting?
Yeah.
They should have just, I mean, you know, I think Ballard came out earlier this year or whatever it was and said the Colts messed up when they started, when they named AR the starter.
He should have came off the bench.
That was after the Jets game. That was after the Jets
came off the bench.
And
he should have just sat a whole year.
He said it brought him to tears because how well he played his job. But, I mean, it was his job on the line.
Paid millions of dollars to do, by the way.
But I think getting back to like the main topic from like a coaching standpoint, and I know that Chad, I think, put in here like who would be some of the top DCs. I think our team is due and possibly in need of a defensive coach.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't disagree, but then we're just talking about trends, right? And like the trend now is all these offensive young guys.
Dan Campbell.
That's all who's getting. No, Dan Campbell's an offensive guy too.
He's an offensive coach. He played tight end.
I understand where you're though, like a motivator, like getting the. I get where you're coming from.
Good point. Player motivator. My bad. But I'm just saying. I think there's so many holes.
We need a guy like that. No, I fully agree. We need a guy like that. And if it's not like, if you're not going to change the head coach, and I can get behind that. I'm not calling for Steichen's job here. I'm just listing it as an option. But if you're not going to do that, then bring in a DC who can still bring that, right? Because defensive, especially when you have an offensive-minded head coach, a lot of the time, I think you see these guys say, "Hey, defense is yours, dude. Like, I'm going to make the head decisions and stuff, but like, you're the defensive coordinator. It's almost like an associate head coach in a lot of situations, right?
But that's
to bring in a guy that can affect the culture so heavily and run that defense, dude. It'd be a dream come true.
I mean, a guy like B-Flow is going to go be a head coach next year.
Yeah,
he's not going to go. I mean, he's
Brian Flores.
B-Flow, he's going to go be a head coach somewhere next year. There's no shot he would ever take another DC job, not Minnesota Vikings.
But you know who would though?
Robert
There's
Saleh.
There's a dude down in Michigan called Wink Martindale, and you tell him, bring that attitude. Bring that attitude. That's what the Colts really need, in my opinion.
They do not need Wink Martindale, though.
They need to add.
I'll try just about anything in this.
Rex Ryan. At this point, yeah, right. I'm there with Trev.
Well, I don't want either one of those guys, but I try just about anything.
Bring me Rex Ryan. Bring me somebody who will literally look at players and be like, "Hey, bro, if you can't perform, Get your ass on the pine. Like, you're paid millions of dollars. Shut up and play. No one gives two shits about your feelings. I don't care about what's going on in the Trenches podcast. I don't give a shit what McAfee said. Like, if they're not in this locker room, if they're not here, right, you're here to pay and play Colts brand of ball. And on my side of the ball, that is physical, one-on-one, man-on-man, best on best, all effort, every down. And you can't tell me anything like that is what the Colts have right now in the locker room.
Because we don't have an identity, Zach. We don't. What is Colts brand? What is a Colts
right
brand?
now? Right now, it's a joke. Yeah,
it's losing.
Yeah, right.
It's losing.
Right, it's losing.
It's losing.
It's literally a joke. Yeah.
There's no, and that's what I'm trying to say is, no Wink Martindale, by the way. I mean,
I know. I was just using him. I really like him. I love his zone blitzing schemes.
Yeah, in quotes. We don't need any tablets or any technology. We're an old school team, and then Quinn Ewers comes in and throws 4 touchdowns on you. But
yeah, 7 touchdowns. Yeah.
I mean, but back to that point. But like, I think we have to get some sort of. That's what I liked about Pagano, and I think Pagano kind of got fought to a horrible team. One, his quarterback was hurt whenever his success declined.
Yeah,
and his coach. I mean, dude, I think Andrew Luck on top of that had like 3 offensive coordinators in
all the time.
He had multiple different offensive coordinators. They could not
B.A. Pep Hamilton and
Chazinski?
Chazinski.
From Steelers, Pittsburgh.
University Miami tight end, bro. Chazinski, bro. Like, and
I mean, gosh,
he was terrible.
So I mean, it's just there has to be a level of stability, but the Colts brand, we still don't have that identity that we've been talking about.
Not at all.
And a lot of times we start talking about last year and where I seen AR regress. But do y'all remember when it felt like every time AR was on the field, our offense was literally unstoppable? We were a downhill running football team. We had multiple guys in motion. Zach Moss could line up single back, take off for 5 yards, put JT in, he'd take a jet sweep, 8 to 10 yards. That was the identity I think that we were trying to build. And since then, we have gone so far off the script. We are running Frank Reich 2.0's offense, and you cannot tell me I'm wrong. It is
100%.
virtually identical.
It's an RPO heavy-based offense, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the personnel for that right now. We don't. Mm-hmm. We're not built to do that. We're a downhill running team. So, it's just, it's so backwards. But we could go on about this for 2 hours.
Yo, hey, Chad brought up a question I didn't have on my piece of paper. I only had really 3 big questions. Thoughts on Shane, thoughts on who you guys might want as DC, and then y'all been looking at potential GMs. Do we know anybody? Do we have a team that we want a GM from?
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Damon.
Well, you have to start looking at teams that I feel like are successful, and then you want to look in their front offices and look at head scouts, chief scouts, head of recruiting. I mean, so like it's kind of a wham because you start thinking of teams like Tampa Bay, Kansas City.
Yeah.
I hate to even say it, Dallas. Dallas hits in the draft a lot.
Dallas
hits in the draft.
We hit the draft too. It gets us nowhere.
Detroit, Chicago. I think we talked about Ian Cunningham from Chicago. I think we've brought up a lot. So
that's the dude.
That's the guy. But anybody that's not in Philadelphia or has any ties to the Philadelphia Eagles, I'll be down with because that is.
I'm sick of trying to copy them. Yeah.
Gosh.
It doesn't work for us, dude. We need to build our own brand because that is a kind of lesser point, but it is a point where like we keep hiring these Philly guys. We keep bringing in people from that team, from that organization. It's clear that either Irsay or Ballard or both has some kind of love fest with Howie Roseman.
Bro, it's Irsay.
Eagles.
Irsay. I've told you guys this. I've had a theory for a long time that it's the Indianapolis Eagles and the Philadelphia Colts, bro.
And it works for them. It don't work for us.
Executives. We basically draft, like fairly similar, except, they have the Eagles have the best GM in the game, Howie Roseman. I would love to get my hand. I would love to get my hand. Would love to get my hands on Howie Roseman if he ever gets fired again. I don't care who the GM is. Coming off three Super Bowl wins for the Colts, you hire Howie Roseman and put him in your front office. Like,
if we win 3 Super Bowls, I'm not firing anybody. I'm giving everyone. I'm doing what we do now, where we just pay everyone for nothing, except then we would have a reason to pay them. Yeah, and then we would like our guys. By the way, fuck's sake.
I mean, yeah, Chad, it's the Indianapolis Eagles. Like that's Like that's I was in the group chat the other day and I was like, yo, hey, I found another dude in the front office who I think Ballard really likes. You know, Ballard has a type, and I've said this like Matt's mom would be so proud. That's awful, Chad. That's facts though, but that's awful. You know, Irsay has a type, and it is somebody who drafts really well, which the Eagles have a history of drafting, and at least in my lifetime, really well. And then
bunch of Georgia Bulldogs.
Basically, I mean, can't go wrong unless you're Notre Dame. And then it's essentially how they play defense, which is a four down 4-man front defense, and like that has essentially been, you know, the Colts thing. Anytime they go outside of the box with Pagano, they've had a mixed bag of results. When they had, you know, Polian, the Bills were the same way. Heavy draft, zone defense in the back, you know. So there's a type there.
Yeah.
I would hope that the next GM and whoever it might be is from a completely different, you know, cloth. The dude from the Ian Cunningham, he's from Chicago right now. Yo, that's a mess. That's a straight up dumpster fire. So I don't know if it's necessarily I want him or anything to do with Chicago. There's a guy in Minnesota who.
The thing with Chicago, though, not to cut you off, but the thing with Chicago, too, is like they've made GM moves. You know, they went out and signed guys. They went out and drafted guys. Like from a personnel standpoint, they've done what they were supposed to do. Everyone was saying, hey, Ryan Poles, executive of the year for all these signings and trades he made and stuff. And he, like offseason and on paper, he did a good job. They've largely had coaching issues, performance, O-line can't block, what have you. So it hasn't played on the field well, and it is a mess. I agree. But I just want to say, like, organizational-wise, I thought, at least in the offseason, they were making moves. They were attempting to do their jobs, which is more than you can say for our guys. But anyway.
Right. I just look at the team like, yo, Minnesota, that GM, I think he's
great.
There's another team that I truly feel the Colts could pull from. There are so many guys you've heard right now. You know, DeMarco likes that assistant from Tampa Bay. I like that dude from the Steelers. Chad, are you trying to get hate?
Chad says bring Peyton back. Listen, Peyton is now
crazy.
On the
no one
long
said the same
list
thing as
Colts
everyone
players that wants nothing to do with the Colts.
Yeah,
anymore.
Manning don't want anything to do with the Colts.
McAfee's just the latest, dude. We run everyone out of town because we're a franchise.
This is sad, but I think if you talk to people or if you get bored and you look at like YouTube and you talk about Peyton Manning, Manning considers himself a Bronco.
Yeah.
I mean, dudes that have been there literally have said Manning is at every Broncos game. He's at every Broncos party. He lives in Denver, this and that. Manning only comes back to Indianapolis when a teammate gets, inducted into the Ring of Honor or when he's doing something with the hospital. Manning loves the Indianapolis Children's Hospital, the Peyton Manning
the
Children's
franchise.
But yeah, he wants nothing to do with the Colts. Like,
he probably wishes he would have went there from the jump. And I mean, who could blame him? Obviously, he won a Super Bowl with us. Great. But
Manning's hurt. Manning wanted to be a career Colt. He loved this place. And Irsay, as the business goes, kind of cut him. And I think it has soured. I think it will heal over time, but based on everything I've said, and you've seen from, people like who are in Denver, Shannon Sharp, Club Shay Shay, and his late night cap with Ocho Cinco directly has said, yeah, Manning was a Colt, but he fell in love with being he fell in love with being a Bronco,
which is crazy because Elway's an even bigger piece than Irsay can be. You know what I mean? So it's I mean.
Yeah.
But that's just, dude, that's the Colts effect. Anyone that has anything to do with the franchise or that was really a winner here, we end up running them out, or like, here and there we'll give them a job. Like Reggie coaches our wide receivers. Jeff was the interim head coach, but by and large we run them out, or we cut that separate or cut that relationship off by just being a dog shit franchise. And I say we, I mean obviously the organization, but it's so frustrating, dude. Every year it's just another headline of someone like McAfee where he's just like, this is a joke, dude. Why am I still supporting this team? Like, it's just dog shit all the time. And I don't know. Something's got to change.
What are y'all thoughts on what McAfee said? I've seen, believe it or not, I have actually went out this week and looked to see how people react to what McAfee said. And I'm 95% confident that everybody agrees with what McAfee said.
Yep.
I think Jason Hillenbrand, homie, you might be the only one.
I saw the comment earlier. Yeah, he said out on McAfee.
Who says you're out on what McAfee says? You're the first one that I have seen.
Yeah,
I'm not saying there's not many out there, but I truly believe, like 98% of the Colts fan base, the ones that are active on the internet, whether those are the toxic kind or the non-toxic kind,
heavy support,
are fully in support of McAfee.
Bro. We're sick of the same shit every year. We're sick of not winning anything. We haven't won the division title in 10 fucking years, and we're doing the same shit every year. So yeah, it's fucking infuriating, man. And at some point there has to be change. But instead of change, every week we have our fucking superstar linebackers going on podcasts and talking about how they want to play trash teams. That's the most loser shit ever, by the way. That the comment that Zaire made about I want to play a trash team in a big market. That's some loser shit, bro. Like he didn't even say I want to play in a playoff team. I want to play for a championship. He said I want to play a bad team in a big market because I know we'll beat that ass. Got 45 hung on him. Dude, that's the biggest joke in years. Like we've had a lot of jokes of our team and jokes of our players. That's one of the biggest I can even remember, dude. What a fucking joke.
I don't know, man. That might be as big as drunk kicker Vanderjack.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
I think it's up there, bro. I think it's up there.
Specifically call out the Giants. Specifically. And for the wrong reason, because you're not a competitor at heart. You just want to smack a bad team so you can get a lot of stats and look good. Because that's the kind of guy you are. And then get waxed by him. It's hilarious.
Thank you for the context. So Jacob said, I'm not saying what he said is incorrect. I wasn't a fan of how he did it. I think Pat's head's gotten a little too big. Oh,
he's their own.
I mean, he's their own. His ego's definitely gotten big. I can't sit here and say it hasn't.
He deserves it.
But homies work for that. Yeah. Like homies grind from that. So like
as a Colts fan, we needed that. We needed someone like that, some alumni, a Colts legend to blast the organization because
most of them don't care.
That's the stuff that gets to Irsay, man. I'm telling you, that's the stuff that gets to Irsay. That's stuff that gets to the front office because it's one thing to come from the casual fan, Stephen A. Smith, you know what I mean? But to come from a Colts legend who's
got his ear,
and still pays for a suite is a season
who's
ticket
got
owner.
The biggest microphone on the internet right now, so much so that 100%. The worldwide leader in sports, I put that in quotation mark, ESSECN or whatever you want to call them, ESPN.
I'm glad you said that, Damon, because that's a great point where it's like it's not just a commentator and it's not just a fan. This is Pat McAfee, and yes, he's a I call him a shock jock, a sports stooge, all those things. He's an entertainer more than a real analyst, sure, but he is the Colts, right? You look at him, you see the national perception of the Colts because he's a homer at heart, and he goes on Twitter and he goes on his show and rips your franchise apart and says, you, and you. If I was in charge, get the fuck out of town, just like that on national airwaves. That's gonna hit Irsay, dude. Like. I really think and I hope when change happens on Monday, because hopefully it does, or this offseason as we go about, I really think we'll look back and say, hey, with the comments Pat made, like that's what really got those seats high. And I hope that's the case. I hope right now Irsay is already writing the termination letters, whatever he's got to do, dude.
4:30 Sunday, regardless win or loss, changes need to be made.
Yes, I agree. But I
4:30 Sunday tomorrow.
It can take
tomorrow. Regardless, win or loss, changes need to be made. Like, you need to let, in my opinion, Irsay needs to be knocking on the door saying, hey, enjoy this game. Everything you need is on the Colts franchise, Ballard. But you're no longer GM as of 4:30. Tomorrow, come in, clean your office. I will have my personnel walk you out. Ed Dodds, his crew, let them know. I'll make formal phone calls. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, handle it the right way, but let's go.
We'll make it official. I'll have a press conference sometime Monday. Whatever.
Because Bradley, all your stuff is on the front porch of State Street Road.
I wouldn't even let him coach the fucking game. Sorry, Mom. Like,
hey, shake his hand. See you later. We got stuff to do, man.
That's how mad he makes me, man. I'd be like, hey, he'd come in, pull up the building, and be like, my card don't work, and we're like, who are you?
Yeah. But you know that is my one request, right? My one request with how we handle that, because we're such a joke of a franchise, is that we don't further embellish the joke status by firing guys over the phone or anything. Like, handle it the right way. Call these
At
guys
this
to the
point,
office.
The Colts
talk to
do
them,
though.
whatever.
The Colts always. Jim
The Colts
Irsay
always have.
always.
I know. I'm
I
just saying.
wanna
I
get
don't want to
into-
see headlines saying,
While we're here,
"Oh, they did this." No, dude, do it the right way, but get them the fuck out of here.
while we're here, because we've been talking about this dumpster fire for like an hour now.
Hell yeah.
DC. I want to hear some of y'all's thoughts on some guys and maybe what do y'all think? Because here's another thing: we can't be afraid to change the scheme if we're going to bring someone new and
We need
rebuild
to.
either.
Bro,
Because
I don't.
so I have my guy. I have my dream guy, dream head coach is Marcus Freeman. I think he'd be the greatest head
What?
coach for us.
What?
But
Hold on.
someone from his staff, I think Al Golden.
Yes,
could be a
dude.
very
I
good
was
defensive
waiting.
coordinator in the league. And I don't hate the 3-4. I don't hate the 3-4. You just got to have a really athletic team,
Yeah.
strong secondary. You have to have great safeties.
Just run a 4-2-5.
But you could run the 4-2-5. But Al Golden, I know it's weird coming from a college guy.
He was in the
But-
league before, though. He was at
He was.
Cincy, and
He was a
when their
linebacker
defense was the
coach,
best.
He was
Yeah.
a linebackers
That's
coach
when
for a
their
long
defense
time.
was the best.
I think Al Golden could be a sleeper. I really do.
Dude, I'm glad you said that because earlier, Zach, like you made a joke about Notre Dame or something when we were talking about Georgia, because obviously,
Yeah, I
waxed
said it.
Georgia this
You know,
past weekend.
Georgia waxed everybody
But-
except Notre Dame.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I it started to get my gears. I'm like, dude, how much money would we have to throw at Al Golden to get him to just drive down the highway a little bit?
he
up
just
to
signed an
Indianapolis?
extension this year. He just
Yeah.
Let me-
I
yeah.
know he's not going
Yeah.
anywhere. He's noted, but a guy like that because those guys fly around, man. Like there's so much motion on that defense. Whereas, like you look at ours, we don't have fucking anything going on. We are just in a flat Tampa 2,
Cover
just waiting
2.
for him to throw the ball on us, right? Like that's just what we do. He's got so many guys flying around. He's got all these little disguises in. You don't know where the blitzer's coming from. That's what it takes to win these. And granted, that is the college game. College game is different than
That's
the
where
NFL
you've
game.
seen
I understand that.
Spags change a
But-
Kansas City defense around.
Yes, that's
Flat
what it
guys
takes
flying
these
around.
days.
Yep.
That's what it takes. You need someone like that.
I mean, defensively, I don't care who the DC is, whether they're experienced or not. Like, I don't have a name. I haven't really looked. I haven't really given it any
Which is
thought.
crazy to me because
Like,
Hey, you've been calling
I
for
just-
Gus's job for like 2 years.
Bro, I've been calling-
You better
I
have
hated
somebody in there.
I freaking hated him. Well, here's the thing. I've always appreciated, like, defense. I want a hyper-aggressive defense.
Yeah,
But I know in the league, like, that's going to get you toasted 10 out of
It's
10
hard to
times.
do.
Like, I hate zone defense. Like, when teams are like, unless you're Pittsburgh and you just, you know, hey, we're a defensive team and that's our identity, and we put our defense first and we're just going to run the ball. Like, my whole life up until being Roethlisberger, Pittsburgh was, hey, we got fat Jerome Bettis. You're going to get
That's how
45
they are now,
carries.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, we're just going to run the ball, and then all our resources are going to go on the best defense in the world. Like, unless that's the culture that the Colts focus on and completely say, hey, offense, this is what we got. We're going to, for the next 15 years, put everything into a defense and just develop it that way. Cool. I just want a hype. Me personally, I want a defense that's flexible, and I want 2 shutdown corners. That's what I want. I want 2 dudes, like
Oh,
a
yeah.
guy like
Yeah.
Sauce on the outside,
Well,
and then
he's
a
not having
buddy
great
hit.
year.
But I'm just talking, you know,
I
like
get
a
it, yeah.
dude that's legit, who can lock up an X, and then a running mate who isn't as good, but is still, you know, a problem. Like, that's realistically what I want. Because to me, I believe in today's NFL, we all talk about pass rush. We all talk about this. I think you can get it from a group of guys. You don't have to have a dog. It all starts with the
Yeah.
secondary. You got to have legit dudes in the back end and legit corners on the edges. And then you can fill out your front 7, specifically your defensive line, with 2 really good edge rushers, and everyone else just be solid and do their job as a collective group and have a successful defense.
And
So, like you could have, I would love a Robert Saleh. Do I think he's
oh yeah,
going to come in and make any massive change that makes any difference? Probably not, because it's basically the same scheme. He might teach it better so guys understand, but
I mean,
to me-
maybe the same schematically, but still how they go about it and people's assignments and people's roles would be different. Like
Sure.
he had that defense in San Francisco humming. The Jets were good
Sure.
defensively up until this past year, so it might be the same kind of idea of cover 2, whatever. But that might even make it easier. I'm not saying Robert Saleh would accept the DC job. I
Right.
don't know what his intentions are, but a guy like that, like it doesn't necessarily have to be a schematic change, even though that's what I would like to see. You could keep a lot of the same personnel and add to it without just shredding guys and keep the same idea defensively. Obviously, get rid of Z and EJ because I'm just sick of them. But you could keep mostly the same key personnel and run the same type of cover too, and just change how you approach it and not just do that base coverage every time. That can be your go-to, but you can still add. There's so many wrinkles you can add to defense, and we just don't fucking do it while every other team in the league does.
No, I just want aggression. Like, I'm tired of sitting back and like, okay, we're in our country cover 3. Like, there's no such thing as like camouflage. There's no such thing as, like, yo, hey, the Colts walked up 11. Yo, there's 9 guys in the box right now. And,
Peterson's
and,
about to get canned, boys. He's gone.
Who?
Doug Peterson's canned.
Doug Peterson in Jacksonville?
Yeah. I mean, what you got to do?
Hey, he's the next offensive coordinator in Indianapolis.
He's from Philly. He's from Philly. Bring him in.
Yeah, watch it end up being on the staff. He's going to be the quarterback coach next year.
I swear to God. Hey, but since we're on the topic of schemes and zone and man and all this stuff, like, this is my problem, or one of my core problems with how we run the zone, because like there is a time and place for zone defense, and it can work as your base coverage, but like the whole intent of it is that you don't give up big plays and you don't get burnt. We run that coverage and still get fucking burnt. So I would rather
don't have
get
dogs
burnt.
back there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I would rather get burnt being hyper aggressive and a guy's out of position because he was blitzing or something like that, applying pressure, than we're sitting back in coverage. The only thing we have to do is not give up a 30-yard pass, and we do it anyway. Like, we are running the thing that's supposed to prevent big plays and let people chip away at us, and we just give up both. Like, they chip away at us and they get big plays. So there's no point. Like, switch it up, go hyper aggressive. Like I said, I would rather get burnt because we're going fucking engage 8 and just ripping people's heads off.
I like engage 8. That's my coverage.
Not that you should constantly do that, but you get what I'm saying. Like, apply the pressure, be the aggressor. Don't be just on the back foot waiting and being reactive. Be the one creating the action. That's what you need to do on defense. And instead, we just sit back and get burnt anyway. It's insane.
Damon, who do you want as DC? Do you want Al Golden? Is Al Golden your guy? Like,
that would be sick.
Yeah, but I really like a Rob Ryan or Rex Ryan.
See, that's where I'm at with it.
I just want someone who's really in the ring. Like, is his name coming up for that?
Rex Ryan is totally down to come. No one's called him. He
wants to come back.
He does. Yeah. He said so. Like, the stuff with the Jets is not. There's like 2 sides to it. He said he expects to get a phone call. Which that is kind of like a tampering deal, right? So they can't really formally come out and say they're going to talk to Rex Ryan, because you do have an interim head coach this time.
Yeah.
But the expectation is they're going to reach out to Rex Ryan, which he'll probably bring his brother with him, if I had to guess.
Interesting.
Rob Ryan, where is he at these days?
Freaking retired?
Keeping Rex's teeth shiny for him? I don't know.
Probably.
Who knows? I mean, I think there's it. No matter who you get at DC or at GM, no matter who you get, I think the main thing, like, obviously there's a lot of ways to go about it, but the main thing is just getting a fresh perspective in both of those positions, because the GM is stale and we're doing the same thing every year and it's not working, and the DC is stale and we're doing the same thing every year and it's not working. So whatever way you approach it, whether it's a similar type of idea or something completely new where you have to change all the personnel, either way, fine. But change is needed. Like, you just need a fresh set of eyes on this problem that is the Indianapolis Colts. So honestly, whoever they bring in, however I feel about them, whether they're my guy or not, I'm going to be on the lookout, being like,
we all think about Dennis Allen.
So
ew,
no,
gross.
Absolutely not. I think Dennis Allen is toxic.
Not his head coaching.
I think he's toxic to teams. I think we need to get.
You think DA is toxic?
I think so.
Chad.
I think
Chad asks, how deep?
He's a guy that doesn't want to win games. Go ahead.
Chad asks, how deep do you think the rebuild is going to be? Damon, how deep do you think this rebuild is going to be? Do you think it's going to be a total?
Not as deep as we think, because we have a lot of guys on deals. We have a lot of guys that have been extended over the last 3 years that I think contracts do not expire until not even next year, but the year after.
Most of them, yeah.
So unless you're going to take in a lot of dead cap, which we do have a lot of cap to work with this year, I think we're the 4th most coming into the year at like $52.4 million.
Probably.
And there's some guys that we can actually cut and get some cap back. I don't foresee it being a lot of it. Kind of changes on the geometry of, 1, who the general manager is going to be, and 2, if Gus Bradley gets let go. Because if Gus Bradley gets let go, I am willing to bet there's going to be a little bit of money spent on defense. that's either with or without Chris. Just because from a secondary standpoint, that shit's not cheap, but it's desperately needed. And I'm not down to draft 3 or 4 more rookies there because we have done that over the last 7 years. We took 4 corners, and not this draft, but the previous draft, and one of them is still on our. Yeah. 2 of them are still on our team,
and one of them's playing.
And one of them plays 2 games a year. Julius Prince. So I don't see it being as deep as you think. I think that there is going to be some movement on the offensive line this year, but it's going to have to start with how the front office kind of turns coming into the year.
Trev, how deep do you think this rebuild is?
Yeah, I mean, my fear is that how deep I think it will be is less than how deep I want it to be. I think it's still totally feasible that Jim Irsay is going to say, well, this went wrong and that went wrong, but we were really close, so we'll just run it back. And that's one of my biggest fears, and it's going to be hard to even turn on a game next year if that's the case. How deep I would want it, like my bare minimum, I said this to the group before, my bare minimum to say this was a good offseason is a new GM, a new defensive coordinator, and you get the Trenches podcast to fuck off the team. That is the 3 bare minimum. I'm so serious. That's the 3 bare minimum things. Whoever you draft, whoever you sign in free agency, if you do those 3 things, I will look at this offseason and say, Jim Irsay, you did a hell of a job. And we can go into next season feeling optimistic. We could draft a bunch of bums and sign no one. You do those 3 things, addition by subtraction, homie. I'll be like, hey, let's go Colts. We're winning the division next year. Realistically, how deep I think, dude, I just feel like Irsay loves Ballard the same way that fucking Jerry Jones loved Jason Garrett, right? Like, I don't know what it's going to take to get this guy fired, and I'm hoping that he sees it needs to happen. But, man, Jim Irsay is just as bad as Ballard about, I like my guys. He's going to stick by his guys, or he's going to say, well, he's running this team and kind of push the blame off on him. Either way, so I don't know, man. There is a part of me that is very, very seriously worried that Monday comes and goes and nothing has happened. I hope that's not the case, but there is a part of me that's seriously worried that will happen because we know this team and we know this franchise. We fuck it up all the time. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't want to get people's hopes so up where they assume that a new GM and a new defensive coordinator are given because it's not a given. We hope and we pray, but we're going to have to see, dude.
I think it's going to be just because how Irsay works. I don't think we will have a new GM or a new DC until, like a couple weeks after the season.
Sure.
The week before the playoffs, that dead period or whatever it is.
That's typical. Yeah. Take your time, find your guy.
So it'll be. Well, I'm just talking before they fire Ballard. I think it'll be a minute.
That would be a mistake. I feel like
before they do all that. But that being said, to me, it's a full rebuild. Like it's a full on. You find the cancer, you cut the cancer, you move on. You come in. You see. I don't know. We can't say it is or isn't. We know he's part of the problem.
No, I say it.
His freaking mouth has gotten him in trouble. So they're
the biggest part. Yeah. Who else? Right. Who knows who else is a part of that?
Right. So then it comes into what direction does Shane have? Because I'll be the first one to tell you if Shane gets his guy, guys are reporting about Ian Cunningham. Hey, they work together in Philly. They're close. Are they going to turn around and is everyone on the offense what they want? Or is Ian going to say, hey, the phones are open. Oh, Quentin, you're willing to give me this for Quentin? You're willing to give me that for JT? Oh, hey, Buffalo, you want a third receiver? Pittman Jr., he's available for a price. I'm just saying, I believe this could totally be a legitimate full-on rebuild where nobody is safe. Do I think it needs to be that way? No, but in today's NFL, I would be stunned if it was just a quick pin-up job. Come in, either keep the same defensive scheme, hire better coaches, and add a defensive coordinator who's capable and add true pieces and run with it than I ever am. Anything like that. Like that never works out. It is typically tear down, trade assets, don't re-sign guys, get my guys, take a whole year where we're gonna bite the cap and be like $172 million over whatever Atlanta was or whoever it was when they moved on from Matt Ryan, and then so on and so forth. That's what I believe is going to happen regardless whether we as fans want it or not.
Well, either way too, like if that's the way you go, all right, but like you have to commit to that. Because we have had a problem. Like we said it was a rebuild in 22. We drafted Richardson and everything. We said it was a rebuild, like we as fans, but then it seemed like obviously this past year they got fed up with waiting and there was a whole benching situation and whatever, right? All we've talked about all that before, but like if we're going to go that route, you have to commit to it. You have to understand cap is going to suck for a couple years. The team's probably going to suck for a couple years. And you just got to lock in and look at player acquisition and development because it's a long road.
And I truly feel if you told fans, hey guys, it's going to get rough before it gets better. I really feel like as long as the product from year one, they're going to suck. All right.
Yeah.
So if the new GM comes out, new GM comes out and let's say they trade Buckner, let's say they trade, the only people that they'd keep are like Latu and guys on rookie deals. So rookie deal guys are fine.
Mm-hmm.
So like AR is going to stay, but he might not play. The new GM might want to look at Shane and be like, I know you loved him. I know he's here, but he ain't my guy. Let's go get someone, quote unquote, in parentheses, better. Like, does it make sense to do that full-on rebuild? No. But if you come out to the fans and say, hey, this is my vision. This is what we want. This is how we're going to do it. Then I fully believe as long as
that's more than we get now. That's more than we get now.
Fans will buy in. They'll be there. They'll back you. And as long as you consistently show improvement, and I guarantee you the first time you get to the playoffs, if you weren't a believer before, you'll be a believer now. It'll be a buy-in, especially if you win the damn division. So really all you got to do, you win 12 games and win the AFC South after not winning it for a decade. You bought yourself 3 more years.
Well, dude, look at Detroit. That's in real time. That's what Detroit did. In 3 or 4 years, they went dog shit, a little bit better, still bad. Barely missed the playoffs. Now they're dominating. Like there was a
NFC championship or NFC champion appearance last year. I fully expect them to win the NFC this year.
It's the same thing. Like when that group came in with Campbell, the GM, and everything, they said, "Hey, there's going to be a process, but we're going to make killers over here." If you go about it that way, and I think fans are 100% on because the Lions have been the feel good story of the league for the past 4 or 5 years now, where it's just like, hey, brand new Lions.
Did and accomplish what Cleveland tried to do with Baker and all them boys.
Which they gave up, which Cleveland gave up on.
Exactly. You have to buy it. You can't give up on the process, dude. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
Well, that's what Shane preaches. So it's time for him to practice what he preaches in process and preparation, because that
guy says process more than any of us.
Right,
it's his favorite word, dude. That is his chopping wood. That is
almost 1%. Well, I think he got it from Philadelphia when they're all like, "Trust the process, bring us in."
Hey, maybe so.
It carried over.
Yeah, so. I do wish I wish DeMarco could have been on the show because he had an interesting idea. It is fully his idea, not taking credit for it. But we were talking about earlier this week. He was talking about he would like to keep Steichen because he wants to see Steichen operate with a GM who is like in tune with him. Because how he was explaining it, and this makes total sense to me, is like it very well could be that the frustrations we have with Steichen are the fact that he's handcuffed by what Ballard wants to do. So if you get a guy like this Cunningham guy who like he's more in tune with and is willing to go with Steichen's vision, that might change everything. You know what I mean? So I'm not against that at all. This is why I say like Steichen, stay or leave. Where I'm kind of just up for changes, but I'm fully okay with. If we run it back with Steichen again, and then we give him a GM who says, "Hey, this is your team. This is your vision. What do you need me to do to make that happen? I'll bring in whatever." Because I do feel like Steichen came in, and obviously Ballard hired Steichen. He likes Steichen, but it's still Ballard's team. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's a winning formula anymore. I think you need to have the coach's vision, and then the GM does his best to instill that vision with the guys that fit that. You know what I mean? So that might be a massive difference if we can get a GM who's just goes with Steichen and lets him kind of be the front man of the thing.
100%. Completely agree. You guys got anything else before we hop off here? You want to stretch this back to 9:30?
I guess we should real quick talk about the game tomorrow, even though it doesn't really matter.
I don't even care if I'm
we
honest.
have the Jags tomorrow. Our season's over. Their season is over. It might tune in just because it's a Sunday, but there is nothing at stake. I think we move up maybe one draft pick or back one draft pick depending on the result. It does not
where would
really
that
matter.
You know where it's at, Trev?
I think we're
11th right now.
We're 11th right now. So
we're 11th
that.
right behind the
Keep that
Saints
there.
at 10.
Keep that there.
I don't think. Yeah, we can't move past the Saints anyway. So I think we might
if
just be
we
locked in at
win,
11.
well, no, if we win, we move to 12.
Okay.
No, if we win, we stay at 11 because I think Jacksonville would move down because Jacksonville's the top 10 pick. I think they're like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
they're third. Yeah, so like if they win, they move to 4th, and I think we would either stay at 11. If we win, there's a possibility of us moving to 12th.
Either way, it's like one spot. So again, there's just nothing at stake, you know.
No.
So this is really for the love of the game. If you watch it,
yeah,
100%. But I don't think we'll see it. With all the negative press, all the negative everything. You hope some people come out and try to change the narrative on themselves before it's too late. But in my opinion, it's already too late. Like I don't care if Zaire Franklin has 25 tackles for loss tomorrow. I want him off of this team. You know, like. This season, it was a book, and you already wrote the end of the book. It's already over. You ended your season last week when you let the Giants put 45 on you. So it doesn't matter if you even go out and dominate a division opponent who's won the division twice, by the way, since the last time you won it, and has had the number 1 pick twice in that same time frame. So what the fuck are we doing? It doesn't matter if you go out and dominate them because you already blew your season. You already blew it. So yeah, I mean, like you said, you want to see people go out there. I really wish AR was playing just for reps even and just to kind of finish the season on a strong note, but he's not because he's hurt. So, well, I mean, I don't know. I hope guys play hard. I hope they represent the uniform, but they haven't done that all year. So why start now? You know,
I agree.
I'm looking more towards that's
Monday.
That's a tongue twister. Yeah.
Monday over Sunday.
Looking towards Monday. More excited about that. And starting to finally see some change with this franchise. But yeah, we do play football tomorrow. So that is something that's happening. Not necessarily happy about it, but we're playing tomorrow.
Got a prediction?
Who cares?
21-17 Jacksonville. There you go.
Who gives a fuck, man? Yeah. I think the Colts win like 24-21 for some reason. Some shit like that. Like it's going to be a close game because it always is.
Flacco will come out 7 for 8 and a touchdown and end the game 11-17 with 2 picks and a touchdown.
And a fumble. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Hey, so every time I pick Indianapolis to win, they lose. So I'm picking Jacksonville 31, like 13. Colts might happen tomorrow.
Too. Who cares, dude?
Yeah, Colts might actually.
Like I said, there has almost never been less at stake than tomorrow. Like for us, we might get the 11th pick, we might get the 12th. Whatever, we can probably get Malachi Starks with either pick, but that's for a draft show that we can do 10 episodes of later on in the long off season.
Again, with the playoffs going on, not this week, but the week after, or do they take a week off and then they start the playoffs?
Wild card starts
next week.
Wild card starts.
I thought immediately rolls into playoffs.
Wild card will start because that's where the first round bye comes in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll still have shows. It just won't be Colts related. It'll be more playoff focused.
Well, we'll cover whatever happens. You know, if there is a new GM, we'll still cover Colts news. But there's not going to be any football to talk about.
Yeah, it'll be. Unfortunately, we don't get to have postseason talks.
Jeff Saturday might be our coach on Monday. So
good. Hey, never know. But we'll still be around during football season, and then all off season will be fun. But it has been a pleasure talking Colts ball during the season with you, lovely gentlemen.
100%, man. Thank y'all for always tuning in every week. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome. I know some weeks
we're still going to be here. Still going to be here.
Yeah,
but this is the last live game talk.
Yeah, for the 2024 season.
Crazy.
But
we were so optimistic this time last year.
Yeah.
Where's the time gone?
Wow, next year will be our 6th season doing this.
So naive.
Hey, go us. How about that?
That'll be 4. It'll be my 4th. No, 5th.
2020 season was our 2020 was our
Phil
first
Rivers season.
2020 was our first, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. You
Rivers season.
1, 2, 3, 4, and next year will be 5.
How about that?
See, I came in 2021.
A half decade of kicking with the crew.
Yeah.
Formerly For the Shoe podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, thank everybody for listening, man. Another year down the drain. What are you gonna do? You know, hopefully next week we can hop on here and have some optimistic news saying, you know, ding dong, the witch is dead, and start speculating about what moves we can make to become a franchise that isn't a joke. But right now we are one, so let's at least laugh about it. Tomorrow we play a football game. Who cares what happens?
Hey, as always, go Colts.
See if I can end this.
Second down, he fakes the Taylor, fires over the middle, complete.